I didn't even realize what imposter syndrome was when I first started coding. Like, I thought I was just bad, you know? Like, oh, maybe I'm just not cut out for this. Every time I built something, I'd look at it and think, bro, there's no way this is good enough. Real developers wouldn't make something this ugly. And the wild part, I wasn't even trying to compare myself to, like, senior engineers at Google or anything. Nah, it was random people on GitHub or Twitter showing off these crazy clean projects. I'd see that and just be like, yeah, okay, maybe I should quit. But the thing that really messed with me wasn't even the comparison part. It was that voice in my head saying, you're a fake. You just copy paste Stack Overflow answers. You're not actually a developer. Man, that voice is loud sometimes. And you know what made it worse? Being self-taught. Like, I didn't have a degree. I didn't have some big shiny certificate from a boot camp. Just me, my laptop, and whatever free YouTube tutorials I could find. Every time someone asked where I learned to code, I'd feel this weird panic in my chest. Like, if I told them I was self-taught, they were gonna find out I was a fraud or something. And for a long time, I kinda tried to hide it, honestly. Like, I'd overcompensate, using fancy tech words when talking to people, trying to sound smarter than I felt. Deep down, I was just terrified someone would ask a question I didn't know the answer to, which obviously happens all the time in tech because no one knows everything. But I didn't get that yet. I thought real devs just magically knew everything. Anyway, eventually it got to a point where I realized this whole feeling like a fake thing wasn't going away. It didn't matter how many projects I finished or how much I studied. Every time I hit a new level, I just feel like, oh no, now I really have to pretend I know what I'm doing. So yeah, one night I was just sitting there, burnt out, half hating my own portfolio website because it didn't look like the ones on Dribbble. And I just had this moment of like, dude, what if everybody feels like this? Like, seriously, what if no one actually feels ready? What if all those professional developers out there are just winging it half the time too? And bro, once I started talking to people, like really talking, not just reading blog posts, I found out that, yeah, even people with 10 years in the industry still have days where they're like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Some people even said the more they learn, the more they realize how much they don't know. And that makes the imposter feeling even worse sometimes. So it wasn't just me, it was kind of baked into the whole process of learning. Once I got that in my head, I started doing little things to deal with it, you know? Nothing crazy, just little mental shifts. Like for one, I stopped trying to prove myself all the time. If someone asked me a question and I didn't know, I'd just say, I don't know. Let's look it up. No shame, no pretending. It actually made people trust me more because I wasn't bullshitting them. Another thing, I started keeping a win journal. I know it sounds kind of cheesy, but hear me out. Basically, every time I finished a project or fixed a tough bug or figured something out that had me stuck for hours, I wrote it down. Not a whole essay, just a little note like, fix that stupid CSS Flexbox bug that was breaking the nav bar, or finish first full stack CRUD app without copying code. And man, when I was feeling like crap, doubting myself, thinking I'm not a real dev, I could flip through that journal and be like, hey, maybe I don't suck as much as I think. And another thing that really helped, helping people who were newer than me. It's weird, right? Like, you think you have to be some coding god to teach anyone. But even if you're like 10% ahead of someone else, you can help them with stuff they're stuck on. And explaining something to someone else actually makes you realize how much you do know. I remember helping a friend debug his React app once. And halfway through explaining props and state and why his component wasn't re-rendering, I was like, holy crap, I actually know this stuff. Not in a I'm a genius way, just in a hey, maybe I actually am a developer kind of way. Another thing I learned to remind myself is comparison will kill you. Bro, seriously, there's always going to be some 19-year-old prodigy who built $1 billion startup in a weekend. There's always going to be some dude on Twitter posting screenshots of their perfect VS Code setup with 300k GitHub stars. If you measure your worth by someone else's highlight reel, you're always going to feel like trash. So I started focusing more on comparing me now to me 6 months ago. Was I writing better code? Was I understanding concepts faster? Was I shipping projects that used to scare me before? That's real growth, and that's the only real metric that matters. Oh, and one more thing, and this is a big one for me, personally. I stopped tying my identity to being a developer. Like, yeah, I'm a developer. It's a big part of my life. But it's not all I am. I'm also just a dude who likes video games, watches dumb YouTube videos, makes bad jokes, occasionally forgets to do laundry. If I have a bad coding day, if I bomb an interview, if a project falls apart, it sucks, yeah, but it doesn't make me worthless. It just makes me human. Once I separated my work from my worth, it got a lot easier to just keep going. So, yeah. If you're out here feeling like a fake, doubting yourself, wondering if you're ever going to feel like a real developer, guess what? You already are. Because real developers Google error messages. Real developers forget syntax. Real developers feel lost sometimes. Real developers get scared they're not good enough. It's not a bug, it's a feature. It means you care, it means you're pushing yourself. Anyway, that's kind of how I deal with imposter syndrome. It's not some big epic solution, it's just a bunch of tiny mindset shifts. And honestly, it's a battle I fight almost every day. And you know what's funny? Even after all that, even after telling myself all this positive stuff, doing all the right mental gymnastics, there are still days where I spiral, like full on, sit there staring at my screen, thinking, what the hell am I even doing with my life vibes? And I used to beat myself up for even feeling like that. Like, bro, you know better, why are you still doubting yourself? But that's just another trap, honestly. It's like being mad at yourself for being hungry. It's just a normal feeling. Now, when that imposter voice creeps in, I kind of just let it hang out. Like, oh, hey, there you are again, welcome back. You can sit in the passenger seat, but you're not driving. It sounds cheesy, but treating it like some annoying roommate rather than some evil truth helped a lot. And another thing that kind of shifted my perspective, talking to senior developers I looked up to. Man, you think once you hit that senior software engineer title, you'll finally feel legit, right? Nope. I had this one dude I really admired, worked at a huge company, super smart, and we grabbed coffee once. I told him I felt like a fraud half the time. And he just laughed and said, dude, I'm terrified every day that I'm gonna get fired because I don't know some random system I've never touched before. And this is a guy with like 12 years of experience. That moment hit me hard, man. It made me realize imposter syndrome doesn't go away because the goalposts always move. You master one thing, cool. Now there's 5 new frameworks you don't know. You land your dream job, awesome. Now there's a bigger project with way more responsibility than you've ever had. It's like climbing a mountain and realizing the top is actually a whole new mountain range. There's always another mountain. But that's not a bad thing. It means you're growing. It means you're doing real, hard, meaningful stuff. And you know, speaking of growth, one thing I learned kind of late was how important it is to take breaks. Like, bro, when I first started, I thought I had to grind 24/7 if I wanted to make it. You know, like those hustle culture dudes posting, I slept 3 hours last night while building 9 startups. Man, no, screw that. Burnout will make you feel 1000x more like an imposter. Because when you're tired, everything feels impossible. You forget basic stuff you actually do know, and then your brain's like, see, you suck. You're not good enough. And it's not even true. You're just exhausted. Now, I make sure I actually live a little outside of coding, play games, go outside, touch some grass, spend time with people who don't care what a Git repo is. And weirdly enough, stepping away sometimes makes me a better developer. Fresh eyes, fresh brain, better problem solving. It's like you don't level up by running yourself into the ground. You level up by taking care of yourself like a real human. Another huge thing for me, being okay with asking dumb questions. Bro, this was a game changer because for the longest time I'd sit there, totally confused during meetings, pretending to nod along like I understood everything. Meanwhile, in my head, I'm panicking, thinking, everyone's gonna find out I have no idea what they're talking about. But the few times I actually raised my hand and said, hey, sorry, can you explain that? I'm not following. 9 times out of 10. Half the room was confused too, but too scared to admit it, and the senior dev would explain it in a way that made everyone smarter. It's wild how much easier life gets when you're just honest about where you're at. And while we're being honest, there were moments, dude, where I seriously thought about quitting. Not even in a dramatic way, just like quietly walking away, you know? I'd think, maybe I'll go do something easier. Maybe I'm just not cut out for this. And honestly, if I had quit during those moments, nobody would have blamed me. But also, I would have robbed myself of all the crazy experiences I've had since then. The projects I've built, the people I've met, the insane problems I solved that made me feel like a legit wizard. If you're feeling that way right now, if you're thinking about quitting because it feels like you're not good enough, just know you're not alone. And it's okay to rest, it's okay to pause, but don't sell yourself short, man. You're probably way closer than you think. And you know what else helped me stop feeling like a fake? Accepting that tech is freaking huge. Like, bro, nobody knows everything. You could spend your whole career mastering front-end stuff and still feel lost in back-end conversations. Or you could be a back-end beast but feel totally clueless about DevOps, or AI, or security, or whatever the next shiny thing is. So now instead of thinking, I'm not a real dev because I don't know X, I just think, cool, that's an area I could learn more about someday if I want to. No pressure, no shame, just curiosity. Curiosity beats insecurity, every time. And one last thing, maybe the biggest thing, I learned that you don't have to feel like a developer to be a developer. You don't need someone to give you a badge. You don't need to pass some imaginary test. You're a developer when you say you are, when you build things, when you learn things, when you try and fail and try again. That's it. That's the whole game. So yeah, some days I still feel like a fake. Some days I feel like a badass. Most days I'm somewhere in between, but either way, I keep showing up. And honestly, that's what makes you real.